Welcome to the Professor of Perseverance podcast. I'm Dr. James Purdue, aka the Professor of Perseverance. Tonight's show is going to hit home for a lot of people, a lot of the big population. This topic today is the love in marriage or having a life partner with emphasis on losing your spouse or loved one. Our guest today, he lost his wife Alice after 44 years of marriage. His better half, you would say.
Yes.
Welcome to the Professor of Perseverance podcast, multi award recipient. We call him Mr. Frank, Dr. Frank, Dr. Marshall. But for me and others, we call him Uncle Frank. Uncle Frank, thank you for coming on tonight. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well now, Dr. Purdue. Thank you for having me on.
Yes, sir. This is a big topic. People get married, people fall in love, get married. Maybe sometimes they're married for the wrong reason, but they get married, and life happens, and one or both of us leave. If we're fortunate enough and blessed enough, I guess they would leave at the same time. But usually there's one left behind, and so they have to deal with the grief of losing that loved one. And so we want to talk to you about how you deal with this and everything like that. And I've never been married. I have what's being known fall in love before. I tell you a little great story is my ninth grade wood shop teacher. His name was Walter Holloman. He gave us a definition of love when I was in the ninth grade. He said, love is a hot spot in your heart that you cannot put out with water. That's what he told us. So I always thought that was heartburn, but he said that was love. So, all right, Dr. Frank, appreciate you coming in again. If you don't mind, go ahead and take us back to when you first met Alice.
All right, now, Brother James. Once again, I thank you for having me on, man. I'm sure it's a million and one peoples out there that have much greater story and better information than I can receive on tonight. But you chose a little old poor country boy like me, and I'm very, very grateful for that too, Dr. Purdue. Yeah, growing up in a little small place called Powder Spring. We call it P-Town. It's about Powder Spring, about 10 miles below Atlanta, on the outskirts of Atlanta. I grew up in that little area, rural area, very poor, growing up as a poor boy, and I knew it was more to life than what I was experiencing. And I grew up and I used to see a whole lot of infidelity and such that, people fooling with one another wives and, married people just cutting out on their spouse. And when I made a vow to God, when I grew up, I said, you send me a good spouse. I made that vow to God, and so he did that. He did that. And I also like when you asking God for something, Brother Purdue, you have to be specific, and I asked him to send me a woman, somebody that I can love and someone that would love me back, that I didn't have to cheat on, and someone that could cook.
There you go. That's right.
And so I throw that in there. And that girl, she could throw down, man. What they say, through a man's heart is always through his stomach. And so she fed me well during our courtship and all. And man, when I first met her, Brother Purdue, I really didn't care that much for her. I tried to put her off on my brother. I met her at a funeral. It may sound kind of strange. I met her at a funeral. And I guess you said, at a funeral, you're supposed to be grieving. But I'm sitting at a funeral, man, and I was down on the ground talking about 3 or 4 guys. We was in this little huddle, like talking, and I looked up and I saw this beautiful young lady with these big old eyes, man, looking at me. And so now, back in those days, I put that eye on. I winked out.
There you go. Yes, sir.
I don't know if a guy still do that nowadays or not. Do that still work or not? I winked out. And then she just smiled. And I didn't think no more about it, bro, James. And I guess the next day, I received a phone call. You know, it was from her. I guess she liked what she seen and she inquired about me and she got my number. She called me the next day, you know, and I talked to her, this and that. And, you know, and I really didn't care that much about her because I'm a young man and I just playing, you know, one serious about no woman at that particular time because I was here and there pretty much. And so she called me, man, we got to talking and this and that, blah, blah, blah. Like I say, I really didn't like her. I tried to put her off on my brother. And, you know, that didn't go too good, that she wasn't interested in him. But somehow we hooked up and I messed around here and got her pregnant. Then I always made a vow because I grew up without a father. And I made a vow to God, if I ever grow up and have any kids, I will be there for my kids. And I made that vow. And she got pregnant out of wedlock. And man, and she was so good to that little girl. She kept her so clean and so neat. And she was so big. She was so beautiful herself, the little girl. And plus she had those big old eyes just like her mom. And I just fell in love with that little girl. I would go pick her up, man, and take her around places everywhere I go, man. It calls attention because everybody, she's so beautiful. She's so beautiful. And I just fell in love with her. Then I said, I do not want my daughter to be raised by another man. And so then I shift my way of thinking, you know, towards Alice, my wife. And I just sat there and I monitored her and saw how good she was to that little girl and how good she was to me. And I said, wow, she will make a good wife. And so I went on ahead and proposed to her and we got married and never looked back. A wonderful wife, man, wonderful woman, wonderful woman. Like I say, if I don't ever be loved by another woman in this life, I can truly say I've been loved before. And so many people can't say that. Some people go all the way through life and never find love. Simple reason, because they don't know what they're looking for. So you have to be specific when you ask God for certain things, man, and then keep your nose out there sniffing and your ears open and your nose and your tail out there wagging and sniff them out because they're out there. Whatever the woman that you want, that's why it's so important to know what it is that you want and be specific. You don't just say, God, I want a wife. You may have some, it's in your wife, but you got to be specific what you want. And God likes that, you know, so I guess I'm going to stop right there.
No, you're doing great. And the old saying is, when you ask God for something, you better be prepared for when it comes. I mean,
Yeah,
sometimes you ask for something and then you go, whoa, that's not what I wanted. But you know, God knows what's best for us. And so I was going to ask the question, but you answered it in a roundabout way. Was it love at first sight for you, or did you have to wear it down?
You're going in and out. I couldn't hear you. You're going in and out.
Oh, okay. He said, was it love at first sight for you, or did you have to wear her down? But it seemed like it was the other way around, that after you winked at her, that she was love at first sight. She had to wear you down. So, is what it seems like. So, all right, and you're right. To be blessed with a 44-year marriage, and it's specifically the same marriage. You know, there's people that have a second and third try, more than that sometimes. But to be that one unit, I mean, you're very, very blessed to have that go on.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So, now we know, Uncle Frank, that marriage is not a bed of roses all the time. Sometimes unexpected things happen. Sometimes it is expected. You know, sometimes disagreements happen during marriages. So give us the recipe of a good marriage.
A recipe of a good marriage, Dr. Perdue, I would say is understanding. Is understanding. You have to be able to understand one another, and you have to have commonality there, and you have to be able to support one another. You know, that's very, very key. You have to be supportive, because a lot of time, you know, you got to have some things in common. Otherwise, you would never came together from the jump street. And you got to be supporting. There are going to be some interests that I'm going to have that she has no interest in, and vice versa. then the interest that I have that she doesn't have interest in, long as it don't invade her privacy and make, putting her down or anything, she supported me in it, and vice versa. She had some things the other partner would have some things that they enjoy doing that you have no interest in, and you support them in that, regardless whether you like it or not. As long as you're not really taking anything away from the marriage, because that's the difference, because we're two different people and we're going to have some differences. As long as you support one another and understanding, one another, you'll go a long way in life, because that's the key to life, is understanding. It used to be a song. It used to be understanding is the best thing in the world between a boy and a girl. I don't know if you remember that song or not, but that was so true. And that held true way back then. As the old folk used to say, back yonder, it held true back yonder. And it still hold true right to this day. So that's what I would say a recipe, brothers, to do for a good marriage is understanding and supporting one another.
I remember back when I was 15 years old and played on a baseball team, and my coach, he was trying to explain that he, has disagreements with his wife. Mm-hmm. And he said that he always got the last word of every argument. And he said the last word was always, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
So he said, yes, ma'am. So he told me that when I was 15. So understanding, and also, trust, and the old thing of compromising with each other. But I love when you said the understanding, and she was the understanding. You said what? And support each other.
Right.
Support. I think that's true, and would be marriage. All right, Frank. Now this was going to be, I don't know if it ever hopped in y'all's thought or not, but anything ever gets so bad that y'all were deciding to divorce?
That
separate?
Praise God. I can surely say that never happened, Jane. That never happened. We had some different. I'll be lying if I sit here and say we never had no disagreements or anything like that. And the majority of the disagreement that we had, Dr. Perdue, it was all pretty much always on my part. Because one time, I got to a point where, I was always like to go, and I got to going so much that I wasn't at home half of the time, and she would get a little angry and get upset about that, and we would kind of swap a little few words, but it wasn't nothing that demeaning to one another, cussing one another out. We never had a cussing. I never cussed my wife out. I never cussed. I didn't cuss my wife, and she didn't curse me. It never got to a point where we feel like we got to go our separate ways. We never got to a point where we slept in separate rooms or slept on the couch or anything. That never happened. But have we went to bed sometime in disagreement? Absolutely we have. So we go to bed and we'll turn our back to one another, but we would still go through the motion, even though we had a little different agreement, Dr. Perdue. We will always still, just do a little quick, like there wouldn't be no wet one. Nothing like that.
Yeah.
There will always be a little wet one, little quick one. Something of that magnitude, because I believe it don't go to bed angry. I believe in that. But we went to bed in disagreement sometimes, but we still was always just my probably kiss on her jaw or something like that. I go to kiss and she'll turn her head and I kiss her right there or something. Then we turn our back. But never gotten to a point where we feel like gotten so bad that we feel like we need to go our separate ways and come back. That never happened. Never happened.
Amen.
So I praise God on that.
Oh, praise God. Amen for that. Because I know another man, and him and his wife, they were going to church where I was attending, and he was talking one time, and he told me that when he met up with his wife-to-be, he said one thing that he told her from the very beginning, no matter how hard times got, no matter what happened between them, divorce is not an option.
Yes.
Because he took it as we're together because God brought us together.
Absolutely.
And so he said, we will work it out, and that divorce is not an option. So I'm glad very glad and praise God that was for you and for Alice as well.
You know what they are, you know, and I told my wife, and I said, but I did tell her one time, you know, I told her that from the beginning. I said, sweetheart, if we ever get to a point where we got to argue, fuss, and fight, you know, every day, I said, I'm out of here. I said, because I don't have a one life to live. And I said, and I'll be darned if I'm going to live miserable, because I'm a very happy-go-lucky person. I hate chaos, you know. And I said, if we ever get to a point where we can't see eye to eye, I said, I'm out of here. And I meant that. And, you know, and it never got to that point, you know. And so every morning when we get ready to go our separate ways in the morning, we will always kiss one another. And then on arrival, we would always kiss one another, as you know, greeting them coming back in. We always did that. Then throughout the day, I would call her, say, hey, sweetheart, I didn't want nothing. You want to call and tell you I love you. I'm thinking about you. And I would text her from time to time, you know, throughout the day. You know, then on my way home, a lot of time I call and ask her if she wants something from the store. And sometimes she would call me, ask me, do I mind stopping by the store? You know, it was stuff like that. And then I never had to buy any clothes or anything, Dr. Purdue. She bought all my suits and my shoes and just whatever I need. She kept me plenished in that, you know. So I would be looking through the closet a lot of time, and I'll run across a new suit or a new shirt or a jogging suit or just whatever. Then I'll look and I said, darn. I said, hey, sweetheart. I said, where'd this come from? She said, it's been hanging up in there for about a month or so. She said, you just don't pay attention to anything. And which she was right. But like I said, she took care of me and I took care of her. We took care of each other.
I would say she was probably correct about that we don't pay attention as often as we should.
Absolutely.
Sometimes. So I can believe that. And most women are the caring and giving type.
Absolutely.
Giving up of certain things to make sure that their spouse is taken care of. I believe that. So, all right, no doubt you're a godly man, and I don't like using the word people say God fearing, because I wouldn't think I'd want to be afraid of God. Being afraid of what He would do to me.
There you go. That's what I'm about to say.
Is different. But to be afraid of Him, no. But being a godly man, a man of God, godly follower. How much? And of course, you're going to give me a great answer. I know this because you talked about you prayed for a wife being your life, not just a wife, but specifically a certain wife. So, how much of the 44-year marriage do you credit the Lord for this, for giving to you?
All 44. All 44, because I have none of this. I couldn't have done it on my own, because if I was had left him, I probably wouldn't have been here, because at one point in time in my life, you know, I never was have been a big drinker, but I used to like to go out and party. I used to smoke a little weed and drink a little booze here and there every time. And when you out, you know, you see stuff that sometimes that catch your eye, but you know, but that I was able to sustain, you know, simple reason for that purpose, you know, because I know I made a vow to God, you know, and so I give him credit for all 44 years. And I say all together, we were married 44, and I guess we were together about 4 years before we got married. Right at 4 years before we got married. So all together, we were together, had been together for about 50 years.
About 50 years.
Pretty close. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you know, you're talking about, you know, sometimes we get out and look at, sometimes we look and we think it's green, the grass is green on the other side, and it makes it greener. That doesn't mean that's what's for us. And so for God to put that discipline in you to know what He gave you, that you didn't want to mess it up. So that's awesome.
Because I heard a lot of instances, a lot of men got out there and, you know, they thought fooling around and this and that, and their wife catch up with them and they wind up divorcing them. Then later on in life, they realized they had the best thing they ever had in their life was her. And so that's what I said. They got they got old too quick and got wise too late. And that was too late. That you done lost that. And so you should have been wild earlier. You should have knew what you had. That's the problem. See, a lot of times we don't know what it is we want. We think having 3 and 4 different women is what makes us a man. That don't make you no man. That just make you confused. That's
There
what
you go.
that makes.
Yes,
That
yes.
makes you confused.
I would think being a man to me, again, I've never been married. I don't have children, but I think a man definition of a man today would be to love the wife and make sure them kids are brought up correctly in a godly way. And again, like you said, you didn't want to be the absent of a father to that
Right.
daughter. And I grew up without a father for a while, and my mom remarried, and that guy, my stepfather, he was my father. He loved me when I needed it, and he busted my butt when I needed it. And so he was my father. So,
Mhm.
all right, Dr. Frank.
Let me say this right quick too.
Yes, go ahead.
Before we move, if you don't mind. And see, and I grew up in an abused home. Not abused to me. My mom, had this man, like was her fiance. We all stayed there with him. And he used to beat my mom and, cuss her out and do all this and that, man. And I made a vow then. I said, when I grew up, I would never treat a woman the way he treated my mom. And so that's another thing that caused me want to be the best husband that I could be, because I see how beautiful your queen is, and they don't deserve that. God give us a woman to cherish. They our helpmeet, and we're gonna sit there and beat on them and this and that, because that goes to show right there you very confused, because you got to sit there and beat on a woman, man. You less than a man. You're not a man. A real man don't beat on his woman.
And I don't understand that, why a man thinks that he can beat on a woman and he can feel so great about himself. But he sure wouldn't treat another man like that.
No,
but he would sure go after the weaker sex. And I don't understand. And of course, we've talked about this before. We don't have that thought mind that some people have in that area. And it's from their raising, their environment, whatever it is, they saw it growing up. But for you, again, I think it's sad and good that you were able to witness that. That way it instilled in you how you wanted to treat a woman. So, all right, Dr. Frank, here, let's get into Alice. And I saw on your Facebook page that 20 years ago last month, she had a lung transplant. So let's talk about her sickness and what finally took her home to Jesus. So if you want to get into that for us, please.
Okay. Yeah, it was I remember we was how it all started panning out. I was out one day. I had 3 kids I had 3 kids. I had all my kids at the time. My last 2, my little boy, I think he was like around about 5 years old, and my baby girl, she was like about 4, because they were like about 15 months apart. Well, she probably about 3.5, because they were like 15 months apart. I was out washing the car one day, and my son came running to the door. He said, Dad, he said, Mama wants you. And so I said, okay. I kept cleaning my car and kept doing what I was doing. I guess probably about 10 minutes later, he come running back out there again. He said, Daddy, Mama wants you. He said, Daddy, Mama crying. And so I stopped what I was doing. I went running in the house, and she was in excruciating pain, So I got her, took to the doctor, and said she had the flu, pneumonia, because she was hurting real bad. And so what it wind up, she had sarcoidosis. That's what it wind up being. Sarcoidosis is a lung disease. So they start treating for that, and over a period of time, and it's a non-contagious disease. It's a very progressive type disease, and and so after a period of time, like spots will come in your face, but she got lucky. Spots didn't come in her face. She had spots that come on her leg, and so later on, she over a few years, because it just wouldn't seem to go away. It just kept lingering. It wouldn't go away. It was uncurable. And so then it come to find out that they told her she needed a lung transplant. And so they put her on the transplant list. And I guess after about 3 years, she was able to get a lung transplant. So, and she got the lung transplant. It had a lot of rejection. We back and forth to the doctor, this and that. Man, we stayed up and down the road because she had the operation in Birmingham, Alabama at UAB. So she got that operation. Like I said, she got a lot of rejection and this and that, man. And we had been a lot. It was rough. It was rough. And I thought she was gone because she had, right before she got the operation, she hadn't gotten down. She had lost so much weight. And I thought she was just going to deteriorate.
Mm-hmm.
And she finally got the lung transplant, and still couldn't seem, having the rejection, just seem to get back on track. And so later on, she started getting better, and she got to a point where she could take and walk and go places, and then you have to have an oxygen with her. And she would go to the parking lot, when she goes shopping, she'll park further as she could and walk to the shoppers, to walk to the so she wouldn't park in handicap spot because she said she let someone that are more handicapped than what she is, have that spot. She was very considerate. She, all the time that she was going through her illness, she continues to went to church, sung in the choir, and she did all of that until she couldn't do it no more. Sometimes she could barely get up. She was still praising God, going to the house of the Lord. She was very, very determined. That's what kept her going. She praised her way through. She never complained. You asked her, she can be having one of her worst days. You asked her how she was doing. Well, I'm doing all right. I'm doing pretty good. Such as that. Praise God. She never complained about anything. And so, and she used to tell me all the time how much she appreciated me. And I said, well, it's really, it's not a doubt in my mind. If it were me on the flip side, you'll be there for me. And I wouldn't, when some men have left their wives and stuff, when they got sick, they left them because I didn't know him, but she would tell me about another couple person that she knew. She contracted that same disease. Her husband left her, behind that. And I told her, sweetheart, you would never have to worry about me going anywhere. So she went on and on, man. I was always there for her and helped her the best that I could. I always take her to the doctor, just always there for her, because we took care of one another. She took care of me and I took care of her. And so then later on, what took her out was cancer. They was misdiagnosed her when she started getting sick, couldn't keep anything down, throwing up. This was some years after, because she had the lung transplant 18 years later, after she died, because she had the lung transplant for like 18 years before she got sick, and that didn't even take her out. She was doing very good with a lung, man. You seen her, you would have never thought she had no lung transplant because she was normal. So she started getting back sick again, and they said she had some kind of engasket stomach virus, what she had. So they treating her for that. That wouldn't seem to be working. She still couldn't keep anything down. She just kept the regurgitating everything back up. Then later on, they said she had ovarian. They started treating her for that, and that wasn't working. Then by the time they really discovered, said she had colon. And by the time she had colon, it was pretty much too far gone, And then they still didn't just tell her that's what it were. They was feeding us that false hope, like that there was hope, because they operated on her and she had to wear one of those colostomy bags for a while, and she would used to get very embarrassed behind that wearing the bag. Yes. Because I used to have to change it for her and do all this and that, and she hated me to seal like that. Because my wife had a lot of pride about herself. And I used to tell her all the time, I would confirm her, sweetheart, don't worry about that. We just need to concentrate on getting better. We in this together. And I always said, because I know that could easily well be me laying down. And I know if it were me, you would do the same thing for me. You probably be there for me more so than I'm there for you. That's the kind of person you are. I said, don't worry about that, sweetheart. I don't even see this. The only thing I'm concerned about you is getting better. I said, just focus on that. You're going to be all right, sweetie. We in this together. I will always confirm her on such that. And that will help. And she would tell me all the time, she said, I was God sent. And she said, I couldn't make it without you. And I said, yes, you could, sweetheart. Because if it wasn't me, God would have sent you somebody else. Because this is the plan that God had for you. Because when God meant for you to go through something, regardless whether I'm going to be there for you or not, He's going to send somebody. He's going to send you what you need. So He sent you me because He equipped me for such a time as this. So that's what took her out. that's cancer, that colon.
Yep.
You know, and she once they discovered she had it, she didn't make it 4 months.
When they finally diagnosed that, huh?
Right.
So,
She didn't last 4 months.
well, I'm gonna bring you back a little bit when you said that God would send someone, even if it wasn't you. Well, I'm glad and praise God that it was you, that you were there for her, and of course when she made the comment, she couldn't have made it without you, and you were trying to reassure God would have put somebody there for you. I think that he definitely knew who to put together, and he did the right thing with you two, for having a family and grandkids and seeing that, and knew that you would be there to take care of her. So I've said multiple times that God knew before I was born that the family that I was born into was the right call, because
Right.
they have sacrificed so much for me to be successful, to make sure that I could get things done. So there's no doubt in my mind about that. So
that's why I'd like to tell guys today, Dr. Perdue, if you have a spouse or significant other, love that person. Don't just take it for granted. Tell them every chance you get. Tell them that you love them, and not only just tell them, show them how much you appreciate them. When kiss them when you leave every morning, kiss them when you come back. Just kiss them throughout the day. If y'all at home all day, just walk up behind them and just pop them on the butt and kiss them on the back of the neck and say, I just love you, sweet. I couldn't make it without you. Just continue to confirm them on that. That means a lot, man. Treat them as the queen that they are, And so it's a lot of moments, some of the things that I wasn't, when I still used to like to party. I sat back a lot of time now, and those moments that I was out there trying to party, I just wish I could have had those time back and been there with her. But one thing about we can't look into the future, but like I say, I have a few remorse, but but I never mistreated her. But I still sometimes that I was out there, I was trying to party and going to events and playing softball. I could have been home with her, but I had a life too, but she understood that, because sometimes she did want me to stay home, but I still went anyway, if I could help. But what that Tyrone Davis said, if I could turn back the hands of time, well, that's why I go back to what I said earlier. A lot of time in life, we get old too quick and we get wise too late.
Yeah, I agree with that. First time I heard you say that, too early and wise too late. That would be a great country song there. I don't know if you listen to country much. It'd be a nice country song. So, give us a quick story on how you surprised her with something, and she was just she didn't realize that, bringing in roses or flowers or, I don't know, an extra paycheck that wasn't supposed to be there. You got something that you surprised her with?
Mm-hmm. Well, pretty much not a whole lot. I didn't do a whole lot of surprises, but because we did a lot of planning and stuff together. But a lot of times that I would bring her flowers and I would bring her candy and stuff home from a lot of time, unexpected, because she used to love chocolate candy and she loved roses, and I would bring that from time to time, and I would tell her, sweetheart, I said, book a vacation. We're going on vacation next week or something like that, like a prize with such as that. But for just bring her brand new car home or something like that, I've never done that.
There you go. I agree with you. A minute ago, you said about you tell people that you're blessed enough to have a loved one, man or woman, in your life, and you should say how much you love them and hold their hands or whatever it is, because life is short and precious.
Very.
You don't know when that last time you may have that opportunity to say you love them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And a woman should never have to open her own door. My wife never opened the door. Anytime we went places, I would always open her door for her and hold her door for her. I always did that, regardless of I'm not gonna like using the term mad, even though we had some disagreement or something, I would still open her door for her and close it behind her. Always.
You might be the last of the knight in shining armor to hold doors, because I don't see that hardly ever anymore today. that
I
generally
agree.
don't do that. I would like to see more of that as well. I mean, it just shows respect, shows a little, the love it's in there. Um, yeah, yeah. You may be the last of the knights in shining armor. It does that, or it did
Mhm.
that. So
And woman should demand such as that, because nowadays in time, a woman should pretty much have to teach a man how to treat her, and she shouldn't settle for anything other than that. So that's why it's so important for, like, if men have daughters, to date their daughters, take their daughters out and show them what they should expect out of a man. You
yes,
know, and treat her like that queen which she is. Open the doors for her and all this that. If you get a man, if he's not gonna open your door and treat you with wrong, hey, that's not the one for you.
yes. All right, Dr. Frank. Hey, I want to mention this before we get going, that you are with your Force of One, which you do with your organization, with that group, and also with your Red Tie event. Can you briefly explain what you do with those?
Mhm. The Force of One is an organization where a bunch of men come together. So what it was arrived out of. So as you know, we got a lot of men and things that's out of position. They're not doing the things that men should be doing. Not stepping up to the plate, taking full responsibility of that, not only their life and their family. And so God pricked my heart once and told me to start this group. And so when I started a group, I called a few guys, asked them about what I wanted to start the call, and told them what I wanted to do and this and that. And they said, okay. And so they joined forces with me. And so what we do, we bring a lot of people from around the world, some professionals, and bring them in, to speak to. We do a conference call once a week. And bring them to talk to us about various things of life to raise their consciousness for financial awareness or just whatever. We does that, try to get them to take that rightful place, because we got too many of us. A lot of times, like when the parents and things die, they leave stuff to the kids, but they don't leave nothing in them. So we got to get to a point so we start leaving stuff in our kids, opposed to leaving stuff to them. And that's our father. That's the man's job, because the man is the teacher of the family. And so that's what we start doing. We start the Force of One, so bring many men together so they can take that rightful place and start training their young men, their young boys, and start teaching them how to be a man. Because that's the problem now. They don't know how to be a man. There's no training. They not modeling a manhood in front of them. So that's what the Force of One do. And so we have our Singleton event we have once a year, and it's called a father and son red tie luncheon. So what we do, we get fathers and sons, bring the sons out to the event. He dresses up, suit and tie, red tie, and we bring them out, and we all have dinner. We bring a nice speaker in. Very first few years that we did it, Dr. Perdue, we had a chair sitting up front. It's just like you and your son was there. Maybe we'll have you to sit in that chair as the father, and your son got on stage, and we'll give him like about 3 to 5 minutes to express himself to you. He would say, hey, well, Dad, whatever he called you. He said, Dad, I just like to thank you for being there for me. I thank you for being my dad. I wouldn't be the man or becoming to be the man that I'm becoming if it had not been for you. Just whatever he wants to say in his own word. And then once he finished, then he would come down, and you get on stage and he sit in the chair, then you start pouring into him how proud you are of him, as a son. And you wouldn't have no other son but him, just whatever you want to say in your own word. And when we first did it, we had about five fathers and sons, to do that. And then at one point in time, man, it wouldn't be a dry eye in the place. And when after it's over, well, I had several fathers and things came up and thanking me, saying I never had an opportunity to express my gratitude and my love towards my son like that in public. Because that's what it's all about. We are to praise publicly and punish secretly, silent secretly. So we need to start creating more avenues like that to be able to praise our children publicly, and that'll make them feel good about themselves. So that's one of the reasons, that one of the things that we do at Force of One. We don't like father son event, and so we encourage fathers to take their son out on a date at least once a month. I'd love to see them do it more than that, but do it at least once a month. Or just get out there in the yard and just catch balls together, go shoot hoops together, go to the movie together, go walking, go riding bicycle, do something together, do it often, build that bond, because that's what's missing a lot of times. That bond is not there. And that's very, very key. And that's what's wrong with a lot of our kids. That's what they craving. Because like I tell my guys all the time too, Dr. Perdue, I said, we don't have a youth problem. We have an adult problem. That's our real problem, because our adults not doing the things they supposed to be. Village people, it's our job to train our foolish village kids and stuff. Because if we wise village people don't train our young village people, they're going to continue to be trained by the foolish adult village people. And so we got to continue to step up to the plate, take our rightful place. And so that's what the Force of One do, to raise the consciousness of our men, to take that rightful place, to be there for their son.
I think both events that you have there, Force of One and the father and son red tie event, is a great representation of you, because you're so positive, encouraging. You got a high self-esteem of yourself, high confidence, and we as men have been brought up to hide our emotions and
Right.
not put that out on our sleeves for anybody else to see it. But what you're doing, I think, is great. I mean, because it teaches them that it's okay to be a man and cry. It's okay to be a man and say you love something or someone. It's
Right.
okay. So I think it's powerful what you're doing there. And thank you for that, Dr. Frank.
Thank you, Dr.
Yeah,
J.
yes, sir. Hey, last thing here now, and we're going to wrap her up. Give the people out there a good inspirational thought, word, something positive, that if they're going through a loss of a spouse, how to make it easier for them to deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say, continue to, like I said, you can't do anything without prayer. Like a lot of time, like one thing about, like, if sometimes, like you lose a loved one unexpected, that gonna be more devastating than anything. But you got time to see them laying there on a sick bed, and you can see them just deteriorating before your very eye. You always gonna be hoping till the last breath is gone. But a lot of time, you don't really see it, but you just don't want to accept it that they about to take their last breath. So now I say, like, when they snatched away, because they always pretty much, there's still a few stages that you want to go through, because a lot of times when you take when you lose a loved one, especially you got a real good relationship with them. Because I read an article one time in Abby, and there have been times they said a lot of spouse would love to play that grieving role, because a lot of them don't really be hurt. If you really got a relationship with them and you really love that person, you're going to get 4 stages that you normally would go through. You will go through, when it first happened, you'll go through a rebellion stage. No, this can't be true. You go rebel, you don't want to accept it. You go through a rebellion stage. Then you go through a confusion stage. You be confused. You just can't understand why this happening. And then we go to a rebellion stage, confusion stage, and you go through a denial stage. And then after you go through those stages, then you start going through an attachment stage. You start putting your life back together. Then you're ready to move on. And pretty much we all go through that, because we'll wind up, we'll withdraw. But when it's like that, you always got to continue. Worst thing you can do is isolate yourself and get off to yourself. Like a lot of people, I don't want to be bothered. I don't want to be bothered. This and that. That's the worst thing that you can do, is get out to yourself. When you lost a loved one, you always want to be around someone that family. That's what family is so important. You always want to be around someone that going to continue to encourage you. And sometimes, you have to know sometimes when silent is more important than word, because sometimes the best thing you can do for a person is say nothing, but just being there, just sit there, just like Job. You know, when his friend came, they sat there for days. They didn't say anything. They just sit there, being there with him. That's letting them know that they there for you, for him. You know, so that's why I say, you know, the best thing you can do sometimes, you continue to surround yourself with people that you know that have your best interest at heart. Because and then you got to recognize when you're living close to God, it's more easy to accept, but it's still going to hurt. It's more easy to accept. So that's why it's so important to have a relationship with Christ. They said, for, you know, it said, that's why I love Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 said, lean not to that own understanding, but in all their ways acknowledge me, and I direct that path. And that's so true. He'll give you your next step. You know, and all this in life, losing a loved one, as we know, is part of life. It's part of life. You know, we all gonna leave here at some point in time, but it hurt when it happened. But you will get through it. You will get through it. The main thing, just don't get despair and don't get up. Don't give up. Because somebody gonna need you, because we go through things for a reason. A lot of times we go through things for the furtherance of the gospel. Now that you done came through, done made it through, now you can reach back and help someone else made it through. I did the eulogy too at my wife's funeral, and a lot of them asked me, said, "How you going to be able to do that?" I said, "Because like I said, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, lean out to that own understanding, but in all their ways acknowledge God." God's dropped it in my spirit before my wife passed. He told me to do the eulogy. And I jumped. I mean, just like you and I speaking now, Dr. Perdue, it quickened my spirit. I jumped. He said, "I want you to do." So he told me, when he told me he wanted me to do the eulogy, so, and I figured then that she wasn't going to get in the belt. And then in Austin, he said, "I have 2 daughters." And he told me, he said, "I want your daughter to speak at the funeral too, to have something to say at the funeral." And so after she passed, I went to the church. I got with the preacher, and I asking him about doing the funeral and all. And we would conversate. Then he say, "Hey, Frank," he said, "why don't you do the funeral?" He said, "Nobody know her better than you." I jumped, and he said, "Whoa." Then he said, then on top of that, Frank, he said, "Once you have your daughters to speak and say something." I said, "Whoa."
That's right.
I said, "Man," I said, "that's confirmation there." I said, "That's the same, that's a real." I said, "That's what the Lord told me to do, but I didn't want to do it. I was going to try to wiggle out of it." And so, God, I said, "Well," I said, "I surrender. I don't have no choice but to do it." At that point. And then it's amazing. And then one of my favorite songs my wife's favorite song that I intend to tell him to sing at the funeral. I didn't tell him. And he broke out with that song. He sung it. And I said, wow. So everything just went according to its plan. So I know God is in that. God is in that. Yes, sir.
Here's what I like. I'll leave you with this, Dr. Frank. Another friend told me this. When you said it was confirmation that they said you should do the eulogy and speak because you know her better, and have your daughter speak, and you said that was confirmation. Someone one time said he told me his father told him that there's no such thing as coincidence. That's God being anonymous.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it.
I remember saying that. Dr. Frank, thank you for coming in. I know this is I know you're not looking for sympathy or anything like that.
No.
This is a great educational. It's a great positive builder for someone to listen later on at the replay to help them. And that's the purpose of doing this podcast, is to help people in the future. I appreciate you coming. I love you, man. And so there you go. Appreciate it. And so, hey, well, I guess that's it. Finish up my little thing here. Thank everybody for coming in. If you listen on the replay, be sure to like and subscribe. Do something today, tomorrow, something next week that's going to help you persevere past your paralysis.